Good morning, good morning. This is Jacqueline Richardson. It's JJ Diamond, Dajour, Jackie, whatever y'all call me. It is pouring out there today. God is cleaning his earth. We want to thank God that we're alive to see him clean his earth. But it is pouring. I mean, flood pouring. Alexa, what's the weather today?
Right now in Charlotte, it's 68 degrees Fahrenheit with rain. Throughout the day, you can expect more of the same, with a high of 70 degrees and a low of 57 degrees.
Oh, guys, yesterday I suffered. I know I got my bad allergy and my sinus issues. And yesterday I felt so bad. Oh, my gosh. I was almost headed to the doctor to see if I had the COVID. That's how bad I felt. But it's the weather, when that moisture gets in the sky with the clouds, it does something, to make me sick, And I'm not the only one. Other people be like that as well. But I finally took me some medicine and I went out. I was stopped up. I couldn't see. It was just a mess. But I'm feeling a lot better today. I'm thankful that it started to rain, so I can feel better. So I'm blessed. Believe me, y'all, I'm blessed because I felt like crap yesterday. Well, we're going to get into this podcast. Today, we're going to talk about my son, Dajour Harris, Nay Heightz. I'm going to give y'all a little breakdown of what we went through, Tormented Triumph, and God's will. And this should help other parents out there that have been through what I've been through. I've been through so much, y'all. Sometimes I don't even know how I manage, That's why we need to take a break sometime and be alone, because a lot of the different things I've been through and pain and stress, and it can really overtake your body, mentally and physically. But, I pray. I pray every single day, sometimes 2-3 times a day. But we're going to get into this story. This is when we was living in Buffalo, New York. For those that do know, I lived in Buffalo, New York for a great deal of time. And I think I told y'all that when I told y'all in the podcast about DMX, because that's where we met. However, it's one thing I don't do, and this is one of the reasons why I don't do it anymore. We cannot leave one person with a bunch of kids, okay? It's not fair to that person, and it's not fair to the children because they're not being watched properly. This is why we have, when you own a daycare, they limit how many kids you can have with one daycare provider, okay? And this is why they do this, because accidents happen, things happen. And my son was a toddler. Toddlers, they always get it into stuff. That's why you got to watch them. And, y'all notice when I had little Junior here, I was always, I had him near me. I had to have him near me. No matter what I was doing, I would put him in the room with me so I can watch every single move, because if I didn't do that, he was going to go rambling through the house, touching stuff, doing stuff. And I had to keep my eyesight on him at all times. So, yeah, these things, accidents happen, but we try to prevent them, and this is why I'm telling the story about Nay Heightz and what he's been through. He's been through a lot over the years, and now God has actually elevated him, and I'm so happy for him. He's a great kid, he's doing his music, working, doing everything that he needs to do to take care of himself, after going through this torment. But I'm going to tell y'all what happened during this time. Now, I had took on watching my girlfriend's kids. She wanted to go somewhere, and she said, "Oh, can I bring the kids by?" Blah blah blah. They love, y'all know, the kids love being in my house. They just love being here. I don't know why. No matter which state I'm in, the kids want to pile in. And I understand. I'm not a hard person. And I let them do them, and I oversee. And they know I will also come at them too if I need to. So they respect that as well. They can eat, have snacks, listen to music, dance, I'm not one of them parents that tell the kids, oh no, y'all better be quiet, sit down and play the game, I'm not one of those parents. Sometimes I even get up and do things with them. We do crafts. We do all kind of things, cook, we do so much. I do so much with the kids. It's unreal. But, yeah, we want to talk about having so many kids at one time, and the girl brought the kids by, and y'all might have seen my friend. I'm not going to mention her name because I'm not sure that she wants to be exposed. But she had brought her kids by, and she had 3 boys. Then there was a couple of other kids there, and my daughter and my son, so it was maybe a total of 8 kids altogether. And I had left the house and left the kids with the girl I used to call my sister. She was there, and she was young. She was young herself, so it was kind of hard for her to actually watch out for all these children. Well, I got a call, and that call told me to come to Sister's Hospital because my son bit his tongue. So, in my mind, I'm like, bit his tongue. Oh, he's probably okay. But why would they take him to the doctor for biting his tongue? Oh, boy. I had to take a deep breath, just thinking about it. Because, I see it like it's yesterday. When I walked into that hospital, all of the nurses just looked at me. They just stared at me. And this was at Sister's Hospital in Buffalo, New York. They just all stared at me. And I'm like, why are they staring at me like that? And they said, I said, I'm here for my son. And they said, you're Jacqueline? And I said, yes. Okay, they said, okay, hold on a minute. We have to prepare you. So I said, prepare me for what? I'm looking at them like, you did call me and said, was he bit his tongue? Well, when I walked in this room, I used to always keep the little white tees. Y'all know the white tees that the babies wear. Well, the grown guys wear them as well. But I always kept my son with a white tee, a fresh white tee. And when I walked in that room, people, that fresh white tee was full of blood. Okay? And his piece of his tongue was in a jar. And I just dropped to my knees. And screamed. They had to go get a priest to pray with me because I just couldn't understand it. I had contacted his dad. His dad was cursing me out. What happened to my son? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm trying to deal with him and his, going off on me and still try to be there mentally for my child. Well, they told us that they was getting ready to take my son to surgery. They needed to get him to surgery ASAP. And they said they had one of the best doctors there to reattach his tongue so the cells can grow back the proper way. Because, once you bite the tongue, it has different cells in it that connects our taste, the way we speak, because it's a muscle. So when it loses all that stuff, you can't operate it the proper way. Well, this doctor, he walked up to me, after I prayed with the priest. He walked up to me and he said, I'm going to be reattaching your son's tongue. He said, it's going to take a while. He said, because I have to make sure I connect where each cell, I guess, vein or muscle tissue, whatever, he had to try to connect each and every bit of that back to the way it was. Okay? Reason being, so it can grow back, as the body actually heals itself. But if it's not attached right, it won't heal. So he had to make sure that every piece was connected the proper way. Shout out to my friend Corey. I love him to death. He's from Buffalo. He's a long-term friend of mine. So go out to the clubs with me. Was always there for me. He sat 13 hours with me in the hospital while I waited for my son to come out of surgery. Okay, 13 hours, long 13 hours. Y'all hear me? That was the longest 13 hours of my life. Uh, Finally, they brought my boy out, and they brought me to him, and they said he's doing well. Everything is attached, but it's going to be a lot of pain, and he's going to go through a lot. Oh, and I was like, okay. So now, I was working. I had to stop working to be home with him because I wanted to make sure that I was the only one with him and monitoring everything the doctors told me. This child had to take a bottle of Motrin every single day. Y'all know the children's Motrin? He had a bottle of Motrin, okay, every single day, which is very expensive for me. Okay, the doctors would give me some prescriptions, which I know the government insurance is not going to pay for it. So I had to make sure that I had the money to cure his pain on a daily basis. He used to like to eat ice cream and ices. That always made his mouth feel good. It was crazy, people. It was so sad. I would hold him, and rock with him in the night, especially when he wake up, not crying, but he would, pant, from the pain. And I knew he needed Motrin, so I would just hold him and rock with him, and just pray and pray and pray, But then as he got older, he wasn't talking. And he would just, the bottle was stripped from him. I never had to go through the bottle, taking the bottle away and fighting with the sippy cup because he had to stop drinking the bottle automatically, So everything was a sippy cup. Everything was a light spoon, And it was like overnight my child became disabled, And it was like, how, how do you deal with this? And me being a young mother, it was like, I wasn't real young, but I was 27 years old, 28 years old. So I'm still pretty young. I'm still trying to find myself, let alone deal with a child that's disabled, and it was like really difficult for me. And it was all an accident, and I'm saying to myself, like, how do we get through this? But all I can do is continue to pray. But then he started getting himself back a little bit and start maneuvering and start learning how to communicate with me. We didn't teach him sign language, but it was ways that he communicated with me that I knew what he was talking about. So I was able to, meet his needs, So when he started going to school, he wouldn't talk at all. He wouldn't even respond to the people, because he couldn't express himself, his tongue would swell. So, most of the time he was in pain. This pain became an everyday thing for him every single day. So I know what he was going through because like with me with the allergies, I go through it every single day. So sometimes you get used to stuff that happens to you every single day, even if it's an illness, you get used to that feeling. So now we get him in school, and the school daycare, was fine. He didn't talk much. They liked that. He just pretty much sat there and waited the time out. School, of course, you have to participate, They wanted this child to tell them something, even if it was, So, and he wouldn't say anything, So when they took tests, they pretty much put down that he would not respond. So they deemed my child as a retard, okay? Which hurt my heart. And I knew my child wasn't a retard because he was a smart kid when he was growing, And I'm saying to myself, no, my son ain't no retard. But they wasn't listening to me, okay? I said, my son is not a retard. I went off on these people at PS61. I told him, I said, listen here, I don't know what y'all going on with, okay? But y'all not going to tell me that my son is a retard because he's not speaking. My son bit off his tongue. Y'all can get the hospital records. You know what they told me? Well, ma'am, this is what we suggest. You take these IEP paperworks and those hospital paperworks, and you go down to SSI and get a check for your son. Y'all will be okay. And I looked at him like, well, we don't need no SSI check. And he's like, y'all do, because he's sick. And I'm like, my son is not sick. What is wrong with you people? You know? So now they got me looking crazy. You know, I'm running around the town going the hell off. You know what I mean? And y'all know how I can get crazy sometimes. So now I'm bugging out. Like, you ain't going to tell me my son is a retard. I know my son is not a retard. He bit off his tongue. He had an accident. So y'all not going to just write my child off, you know, and that's how I felt about it, you know. So I prayed and I tried to work with him. You know, I would try to give him extra love, you know, but it was a little hard for me because I had took on the responsibility of raising my grandson, you know, my daughter's son. So it became double the work, you know. However, we decided to move to Maryland. Shout out to Maryland. I love you guys. We moved to Maryland, and I told them when I registered him in school, I told them everything that Buffalo had told me. And they really didn't believe in like IEPs and like special ed classes and stuff in Maryland. They don't really believe in that stuff too much. They want every child to be normal, you know. However, even if you have, like in New York, they have special classes for kids that has disabilities. They don't do that in Maryland. Everybody's in the same class. And if they feel that you need extra help, they're going to pull you out and work with you and take you back. Okay? Well, they did this for my son. And they took a lot of time and patience with my son. Okay? And when I say they took a lot of patience, and when they would contact me on a daily basis, okay, and they said, he's getting it. You know, they just wanted me to make sure he was medicated because, you know, when you're saying certain words, you have to use your tongue in a certain way. And if it was swollen, you know, it was hard for him to do that, you know. So I would just pray every single day that things got better. And he had a teacher, I can't remember this man's name. I even called the school recently looking for him because I wanted him to hear Dajour after he worked with my son for a year. Okay, 1 year is all it took. Okay, after these people deemed my child retarded. Okay, it took him 1 year of persistence and love working with my son for my son to talk. Okay, at the end of that year, my son was talking, and it got better and better and better. Day after day, okay? I was thankful. I was so thankful. And I knew that he would have some type of slur, you know, because it was hard. He bit majority of his tongue off. It wasn't like just the tip. He bit majority of it off. So, you know, it's like the center of his tongue. And we need that when we speak, you know, and when we, you know, we're eating and different things like that. So I told myself, I said, you know, I know he's not going to be 100%, you know, with words because of what happened. However, I never in a million years expected this child to become a rapper. Okay. And this is why I'm telling this story. I want people to understand that even when men write you off and tell you there's nothing else you can do, God will find a way. Even if he has to relocate you. Okay, this is why I tell people, when God is in your life, don't fight it. Okay, don't fight it. Because when you're praying to God and you're telling him, relieve me of this pain, relieve me of this stress, relieve me of whatever you're going through. And he steps in and then you pull back because of fear. Guess what? You hurt yourself. Now, God led me to Maryland. Okay, I had met a girl, and she had people in Maryland, and she said, I'm going down to Maryland. You want to come? I said, yeah, why not? I've never been to Maryland before, you know. My mom always used to go to Maryland. So, yeah, let me go and see what it's about. And I went down there. And she said, hey, you want to move down here? I said, why not? It's beautiful. It has water. And y'all know I love water. That's one of the reasons why I stayed in Buffalo, because, it's all surrounded by water. Niagara Falls. I would just go sit at the water and listen to Usher sometime. And Trey Songz, I listened to him a lot in Maryland. Usher was Buffalo. But anyway, long story short, that's how I got to Maryland. So when I got there, I was like, it was like God was telling me to go. So I obeyed and I went, and he rewarded me. And what he rewarded me was what I've been asking for, was my son to be able to talk, okay, and communicate with others. Because even when we was living in the Bronx, we went through a battle. The schools couldn't get him to talk. They just wasn't, I don't know, I guess the demeanors couldn't connect with him or whatever the case may be. But when we got to Maryland and we found this teacher, and I wish my son would tell me or remember his name, so we can contact him and just to say thank you, because God sent him in our life, and sometimes that's what God would do. He would send a whole stranger in your life. He appoints somebody. This is what God does. He appoints people, okay, to make happen what he needs to happen. And when you don't, and when you fail or don't listen to God, he don't like that. So then things start bouncing back off of you because you didn't follow what God had asked you to do. Okay, and this is where between faith and fear comes in. If you're a true believer in God, faith is always over fear. Because if God is leading this path, it's going to be okay. And God has, like when I tell people, I write on Facebook sometimes, they be like, God is good, and I'll come back with God moves mountains. So God is amazing. Y'all don't even know what I've experienced, that God has this said, daughter, I got you. I got you. Same with my little brother. I told y'all when I prayed, I was relieved. That's why I tell y'all, God moves major mountains for you. You just have to have faith and believe and read and understand what God requires of us. None of us are perfect. And God knows I'm not perfect. He knows none of us are perfect. But you have to learn to try and have more faith than fear of God. I fear him because I know how powerful he is. I know how he can move and destroy everything when he's tired. Okay? Because I read it in the Bible, and I see things that he do when people don't obey. Okay? When he's trying to make some moves in your life and you're going the opposite way from him. You're running from with the present he's giving you. So, getting back to my son's story, and my story too, because I went through it right along with him. It was, like I said, very stressful. I was working, worried about how he was doing. I would take my lunch break and call his teacher, and he'd give me an update. And this was on an everyday basis, that I had to dedicate myself on my lunch break to make that call and talk to his teacher. So years went by, and I say it again, years went by, and it kept getting better and better and better. And when my son came to me and told me he wanted to be a rapper, I was like kind of confused. Because I'm like, well, you are, have some type of slurs with some words, but I guess it could work because you can fully talk now. But I never thought that you would want a field that requires your tongue. So it brought tears to my eyes. So when people say why I fight so hard with this music thing with my son and our label, is because God gave us a gift. And now he wants us to present it to show who was really in control over this situation. And it was God. The teachers, man, nobody controlled this. He appointed one person in my son's life to help him. And when after that, my son had the faith, enough faith to continue to pray and say, you can do this. And now you're going to present this accident to the world and say, God gave me this. He took it from me and he gave it back. And every time I hear my son say, I'm his biggest fan. I'm supposed to be. But I'm his biggest fan because I remember this child wasn't able to say anything. He couldn't say, Mommy. And it tickles me because when he was coming up, he started saying mother. He would call me mother, and I was like, okay, he can say the whole word, mother. And I was like, all right. Yes, son, or then he started learning how to say mommy, when he started hearing the other kids calling me mommy, So it was a beautiful thing to hear my son speak. It was such a beautiful thing, and I told God that I had to give back, I had to give back for everything that he's done for me. And I'm the thing is, he's done this stuff for me, and I didn't fall victim to drugs. I didn't fall victim to just nonsense. He kept my mind free of negativity. Some people say that I be in my own world. I do be in my own world. I be in my own world because God has a hold of my world. He did that in my life. So I'm dedicating majority of my time to God. Where people may not understand that, if you've seen him move the mountains that he's moved in my life, you will understand it. But granted, you don't understand because you haven't been down the road or walked in my shoes. And that's why a lot of people don't get it. However, they like to be around me because my mind and my soul is free. The reason why my mind and soul is free is because I try to live godly and love the people, So that's why, when people come around me, they get this good aura. It's never that, I hate going around so-and-so because blah, 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 blah. I may have maybe one or two of those because they all total negative. So they're gonna feel that way. If you total negative and you're a devil, of course you're gonna feel that way if you don't want to be around me. Because everyone loves me. They love, especially the kids. The kids love to be around and be in my circle. God is just powerful, y'all. And I just want y'all to start reading. Nobody's saying wake up and you got to gain this faith in God. It's steps to it. It's levels to it. You read, you learn, you understand. You get the feeling. You know that God is present. And he's going to be there to help you. First, y'all need to clear your mind because your minds is just so much is going on in your minds that y'all can't even receive God the way God wants us to receive him. So this is where meditation comes in at. Where y'all have to clear your minds. And just receive God the way he wants to be received. Understand God. Because that's all he wants. So once you understand him, you're going to flow with him. Just like I just said this morning. Oh, it's raining. God is cleaning his earth. That's what he's doing. He's cleaning his earth. It has to be cleaned. Just like we have to clean our bodies. So these are the things that y'all have to learn. And for like the mothers that, and I want to say this, like people was telling me about my grandson having ADHD. He actually did, though. He really did have ADHD. And I just couldn't figure it out. But we worked through it. And now he's grown and he's on his own and he may have challenges, but there's ways to get through those challenges. He has to want to get through those challenges. Just like my son wanted to get through his challenge and he did. And now the whole world can hear this child that was deemed retarded because they said he wouldn't speak because of an accident. Instead of being patient and saying, well, let's work with him first. Let's work with this child and see. But, they look at us, and I want to say this, especially being black, okay? Black and Hispanic. They look at us and they think everything is about money, Oh, well, this person here, she's nice, we like her. So we'll say her child got this illness and give her these papers so she can go get a check. It's not about the money. It's about my child's health. And this is where people got to look at the facts of things. What do you really want? It's your choice, it's your world. Do you want your child to go through life being, say, whatever they're going through, whether they have a learning disability or they have ADHD or whatever, retardation, whatever they categorize them as? Is that your endpoint? That's where you're going to stop? Or you're going to tell yourself, I'm not claiming this. I'm not claiming this. And I'm going to move on and figure it out. Just like parents with their kids with autism. Autism is very difficult to deal with because the kids don't express themselves very well. Okay? You have to give them extra attention on a daily basis for them to respond to you the way they're supposed to, like a normal child. Okay? However, people don't have the patience. So it makes it very difficult. They write you off. Okay, they have autism. Treat him like this and you'll be all right. Push him to the corner. Oh, don't worry about him. He has autism. No, all he needed was a little special love and a little special time and patience. And he wouldn't even have autism. That's what the doctors came up with. Now, I'm not saying that my gripe is with doctors in the schools, but they need to understand. You can't just write these kids off to these parents and think it's okay. And now these children are scarred for life because you wrote these children off. So what I'm saying, people, is if you have to use your higher power, meaning God, whoever your God is, Jehovah, oh Jesus, I can't even get it out. Jehovah, we know that's, I'm trying to think, Allah, that's what I was trying to think of. Jeez, my mind went blank. Allah and Buddha, whomever y'all call our Father, because we only got one. That's who you need to consult with when you're being told that your child has this disability. Because this is a man, a human being that God created. And they have to make, based on what you say or what they see, a diagnosis. And they might miss something. Okay? So by them missing something, then they get to categorize you on paper by law and give you this illness. Which is not fair to people because stuff like that carries and runs with them for the rest of their lives. And some kids never have normal lives because of it. So in actuality, they're actually destroying some of these children's lives by diagnosing them, misdiagnosing them. Sometimes you just got to be patient. Okay? So parents is going through this right now, and I know it's a lot of parents out here that go through that, where the schools are saying, okay, your child has this, your child has that, and being that it has that, we don't have to push him too much. We're going to let him just sit over there in a corner. He'll be all right. No, you take the initiative to work with your child. Get more help for your child. to see your child live a better life. Because God, when God is in something, He's going to work it out. And I'm living proof of that. Okay? And my son right now was deemed and misdiagnosed. And today he sings to all of you guys on all platforms. So how is it my son was diagnosed with this stuff? Because that's man. You can't listen to everything man says. You have to let God do his work. And have patience. You know, people, they want me to be a minister because, and I'm going to tell you why, because I have these stories, but I don't feel the need to be a minister because I have to live a certain different life. And if I'm going into something, I'm going into it full blast. But the reason being is because I give these testimonies, okay? And I talk about these testimonies. And the reason why I talk about these testimonies is to tell you guys and show you guys that God is real. He's moved mountains in my life. He's real. For those that, didn't start praying until the COVID came about. For those that didn't start praying until we had this presidential election. And I'm going to say it once again. I always say it. God said, I'm going to be there, but don't be stupid. So y'all got to pay attention to the signs around you. You must pay attention. The way God moves. And y'all know I praise God every single day. I get testimonies every single day, 5 days a week for God. Telling y'all stories that God has gotten me out of or put me through to become the warrior I am today. He takes us through challenges. He takes us through sacrifice. Granted, I've been through a lot of sacrifice. Don't want to talk about it all because sometimes it can really wear me down. However, when he takes us through these things, it's not because God hates us. And I went through that as well when my aunt died. I thought God was hating me because he was taking away the best thing I ever had. But I had to learn that I still had her. Because the things that she taught me, the love that she gave me, and now I have to return that love to others. But I disliked God for a good while after that. You brought me this far to take the best thing that ever happened to me away? Why? I couldn't understand it. And I know a lot of things that you guys can't understand. Patience, discipline. Those are the 2 factors. Let God do his work. God has moved in all of my kids' lives, one way or another, from any sacrifice that we had to go through. And this is why, I don't know if my kids love God as much as I do, but this is why I love God as much as I do. Because he's moved so many mountains in my life, and y'all hear the stories day to day. Worst thing ever. I remember having my daughter Egypt. I'm going to tell y'all this real quick. I was 38 when I got pregnant with Egypt. And the doctor said to me, he said, Jacqueline, we want to do what is it called? Amniocentesis. And that's when they stick the big needle in your belly button to draw fluid out to see if your child is disabled and have Down syndrome. He said, we know that you've been through a lot. I'll never forget the day he said it to me. He said, we know you've been through a lot. And I'm looking at him like, how do you know? You know? But, you know, when you're very popular, things go around and, you know, people know you and they know what you go through, you know. So that's been my life all my life. Anyway, shout out to the Indians because he was an Indian doctor. And he said to me, we don't want you to have to deal with another disabled child. Because I've already had my grandson, he was going through his issues. And my son was going through his issues, you know. And they didn't want me to, they wanted me to think about it. You know what I mean? They wanted me to sit down and say, now this is, they pretty much said, this is your choice, it's your world. But we don't want you to have to fight this battle. So let's do this test, you know, because I told you I'm a strong believer in God. I don't believe too much. I believe in science, but because I love science. But when you start mixing the two, I'm like, I can't do it. You know, and that's what I kept telling him. I said, I can't do it. He said, we suggest that you do it because you don't want to have a Down syndrome baby. And now you got him. You have your grandson, and then you have your other son that's going through his issues, you know, trying to learn how to speak. We don't want you to go through no more pain if you don't have to. Well, I took the amniocentesis, and he came back to me about 6 weeks later and said, your baby is fine. And I was so thankful. And they say that God ain't going to put more on you than you can bear. But I also believe that that's not true. That's why people be so stressed. But I believe the reason why they be so stressed is because they don't go in the route God wants you to go in. When you follow the way of God, the stress goes out the window. God will lift that stress off of you. He will blind you, okay, from the pain. Like, I'm going to use the baby, for instance. He got a song called, I forgot the name of the song, but it say, I was blind, I couldn't see. You was blind because God blinded you for a reason, you know. And that's what God does sometimes, just so you don't have to bear the pain. He will blind you, make you numb. Well, this is the conclusion of this podcast. This podcast is about Nay Heightz, his torment to triumph. Dajour Harris, actually, a.k.a. Nay Heightz. For those that don't know how to say his name, I mean, can't get him on Alexa because Alexa only knows Nay Heightz. She doesn't know, I don't know. Everybody says it differently, you know. So that's why I'm letting y'all know when y'all like asking Alexa, it's called Nay Heightz. So you say, Alexa, let me hear Nay Heightz, you know. Matter of fact,
common cold is not a 464.
Well, we ain't asking for no code. Alexa, let me hear music by Nay Heightz.
Shuffling songs by Nay Heightz on Amazon Music.
This is one of my favorite songs right here.
Murder was his name, murder was his frame. Talk a lot of shit just to get the fame. Keep my soul lit while I got the flame. Bury anybody that makes a false claim. Put that ass to shame. I'm playing this old game like I own the game. What they got left is still the same. Dig up their remains and turn it to gold chains. Put that soul around my neck. Let these niggas know my name. Put that heart around my neck. Speaking what I really claim. And I pray for my flow.
Now, for those that know the Bible, you'll understand this song. But if you don't know the Bible, you won't understand this song.
I'm set up for it. Don't be worried about it neither, cause I ride for it. Looking for that fortune, but I still gotta fly for it. So far,
Y'all have a good day. This is Miss JJ Diamond, Jacqueline Richardson, Dajour, Jackie, whatever y'all call me. I love you.